You're listening to the Thoroughbred podcast, an elite business leadership podcast.
This is John Wentworth. Welcome to the Thoroughbred podcast. I am super excited about the name, and I'm also super excited to bring you just some amazingly valuable content that hopefully will inspire, motivate, and just kind of share my story, and also open you up to maybe a change of mindset. I'm a big believer in a change of mindset. I really am. I think that for me, I'm always somebody that's self-reflecting. I think if you can't self-reflect, you can't grow. And I'm also very, very interested in people that operate in humility. That's super important to me. I don't care about your ego. People with ego will not be on this show, and they're not in my life. So they're not going to be on this show. With that said, Thoroughbred, right? Why Thoroughbred? I know a lot of people listening or tuning in are thinking, well, he's going to talk about horses the whole time. And I'm not. I will. I'm open to that, of course, because I love horses. I love the horse racing industry because I want to do what people tell me I can't do. So if you tell me I can't win the Derby, I'm going to show you I can. And I'm now telling you, I'm declaring I will win I'm not going to be the jockey, but we will win the Kentucky Derby investing a fraction of what everyone else has to invest, because that's my commitment. That's my dream. That will happen. So Gary V's buying the New York Jets. I'm winning the flipping Kentucky Derby, guaranteed. So that's my, I didn't plan on saying that, but that's true. That's what I believe in my heart every time. I'm winning the Kentucky Derby and I'm winning the Breeders' Crown. And that's why I love horse racing so much. It's just to be able to play on that level with little old me coming from a single wide trailer. I think it's pretty awesome. In addition, we're going to talk about what is the definition of thoroughbred. Yes, it's a horse, but there's another definition. The definition is elite or first-class person. I never knew that until today, when we started getting into, well, let's look up the definition of a thoroughbred. So yes, it's a horse. The second definition is an elite or first-class person. And right away, I think of what it makes a first-class person. It isn't how much money you have. It isn't the car you drive. It's your humility. It's your lack of ego. It's your humbleness. It's your willingness to help and serve others no matter what platform you're on. That's an elite person. I'm ultra blessed to have so many of these elite people in my life. And I'm going to bring those people to you. I'm going to share them with you, share their story. Everybody has a story. And I think that's the thing about humility. I was just talking to Vanessa McDonald. We were on an appointment together and on the way home, and she was telling me about someone that wasn't treating her great, another realtor. And I said, people just lack compassion for other people because their ego gets in the way. It's probably not because they're bad people, but their ego gets in the way. And so, well, I don't know. I could go real deep on this. I don't think I will today, but we will get into that another time. Look, I'm open to talking about everything except politics and guns. I will talk about religion. I'm a huge believer, and I just think it's so important to share that with my audience. I grew up with zero religion in my life. My grandparents would take me once a month or once every couple of months when I was there, but that was it. And so to have an experience and a relationship with God in my adulthood was just an awesome thing, and it still is to this day. And no, I'm not perfect, but every day I can wake up, humble myself, and try again. And so that's another topic that I'm sure we'll engage at some point. First-class people. Those. Here's a real interesting thing. As I've grown and developed this business, and I've been extremely blessed, I've realized that I want to help everyone. And so with that said, I kind of came up with this thing. There's only two types of people that I want in my life. Someone that I can have a positive impact on, or someone that can have a positive impact on me. And somebody might look at that, the naysayers or the haters might look at that and say, oh yeah, you want people that have a positive impact on you. Yeah, but I don't want their money. I don't want their shit. I want positive people in my life that can help me, that can move me up the ladder to just being a better person, a better husband, a better father, a better friend. That's what that means to me. People that I could have a positive impact on. If you're in my circle and I can't have a positive impact on you, then I guess I'm probably at some point I've got to move to somebody else that I can. So that's kind of something that I'm always thinking about now. The story for me getting into real estate, people always ask, right? And so I guess this is a great platform to kind of share that. How did you get into real estate? So I grew up, humble beginnings. We had a single wide trailer behind Bishop Airport. I had a very, I don't even know how to describe my childhood. People have heard my story and they will just say I'm lucky to be alive, probably. They would tell you that I've overcome more than anybody they know. And they would tell you that, holy shit, I can't believe it. And you're doing what you're doing still. And that's another story for another time. But so just growing up in that environment, my dad worked at GM, and in my teenage years, I was very involved in sports, very competitive at everything I do. And my uncle lived on Lake Fenton, and that always piqued my interest because I had two sides, right? My dad being in GM and my uncle living on Lake Fenton, being an entrepreneur, owning restaurants. And I saw those two sides of the spectrum. And I will tell you, I was no good in school. I didn't care about school. I only cared about sports, and I liked girls. And, as you go through that journey, I started to realize school wasn't for me. So, I'm a proponent of a lot of the things Gary Vee talks about. I would hate to see somebody that has zero interest in school go to school because they're so encouraged by their family to do it and they have no interest in it and they take on debt to do it. To me, that's scary. But anyway, I just, I got out of high school and when I was a senior in high school, I went to the racetrack, the harness racetrack. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. And so I did. Within a week, I was cleaning stalls. I'd never been around a horse in my life, and I'm out cleaning stalls, and horses are kicking me and attacking me, and I don't know anything about them. But I was very passionate, and one thing about me, when I focus on something, nothing gets in my way, and I will excel at it. And that's not because I'm great. It's because I'm very, very determined. And I think that's one of the things that I see today people lack so much is just determination and grit and commitment to doing stuff. I always say, if I sell a $3 million house today, I'm still going to be at the office tomorrow at 8 o'clock after I drop the kids off at school. And that's that being attached to the process, right? I'm not focused on the outcome. I'm focused on the process. And if I stay true to the process, everything else will take care of itself. Part of that process is doing the good things, doing the right things over and over and over, but always treating people the best that I can also, I think is ultra important. And so back to the story on how I ended up here, I ended up racing horses. I ended up driving horses, training horses. I lived all over. I lived in, I lived in Quebec. I lived in Ottawa. I lived in New Jersey. I lived all over the place. And I really enjoyed racing horses, and I was very successful. We did very good. But I had to leave the state because there was not enough money in the state to make any money. You could bat 500. They use a batting average just like baseball, actually. And so you could bat 500, which was extremely great, and still hardly make any money. So I had to get out of the state, which took me to Canada, and I loved it. I did very well there, had a lot of great memories. And I will tell you, the horse business definitely was part of God's plan for me, that journey to go on, to self-discover, and to bring so much. One thing I believe, I can see right through everybody instantly. And so it makes me a tremendous negotiator. It makes me very good in the moment. Hopefully right now, because none of this stuff is planned out. I'm just kind of sharing. And so that journey in the horse business, living broke. I lived broke. I'm talking, zero money. I'm talking stressed because, you didn't know if you were going to eat or be able to pay the rent the next week. And I was okay with that because I was so passionate about what I was doing. But being in Ottawa, drew me away from my family and away from Christian, which is my 18-year-old. I love you, buddy. I hope you'll be on this sucker, I'm sure soon. But it drew me away from him. And when I was living in Ottawa, I would just lay in bed at night and cry. Like when I first went there, he was he was young. And as I would come back and for 4 months and I'd go back to Ottawa, then come back for 4 months and go back again. And I just grew sad. I just wanted to be home. And I snapped decision, sell everything, move home. Okay, now what am I going to do? Thankful. I actually had lunch with this guy today, David Jameson, shout out. But he was a big supporter of me in racing. And when we moved home, he was a big supporter of that decision too. And he said, look, let's do something else. I said, how about flipping houses? Now, I don't know anything about houses. I sure as hell don't know anything about fixing up a house. I don't even own a screwdriver to this day. So we brought on a third party that was a good contractor, good remodeler, so on and so forth, and we started that journey. And it ended a few years in because the market tanked. And so now here I am. I've got no money. I'm renting a place for, I don't know, I think it was $800 a month. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll sell real estate. I'm going to get into selling real estate because I see the people that are out there that are doing well, and like I did in racing, like I did in sports, I know I can outwork them and I can outperform them because I know I can be attached to the process, and I know that I can be diligent in my work ethic, and I know that I can be relentless and focused and do it at a higher level. Bring a new marketing concept. I always loved marketing, and also do it with the utmost integrity. And that's how I'm here today, essentially. So, I get into real estate, and I jumped around a couple times initially because the first brokerage I went to, I was there about a week, and I said, I got to get the hell out of here. Shout out. And I did, and then I moved to another place, and I ended up at an independent. And at Tremaine, actually, and I enjoyed myself there. I learned a lot there, but I got to a point where I needed to move on. I knew there was much bigger for me, and really, making that move and then just diving all in was a huge thing. But here's where everything changed. Okay. Even while I was selling real estate and selling a couple of houses here and there, I didn't have any money. I mean, I was broke. I was trying to pay rent every time. And at that time in my life, I was drinking too much, flat out. And I went to a hockey tournament up north. And I just drank way too much at this hockey tournament. We're going back 15 years. And the next day, I'm back home and I'm hungover. And my girlfriend's there and we're fighting because I'm an idiot. And on ESPN, this episode comes on. And in this story it's tough to tell without being emotional because, when you look back on how God affects your life, and allows you to self-discover and puts you on a journey, but at the same time is, when you look back and you see all the attempts that are made to reach out to you. And so I'm watching ESPN. And on ESPN pops up this gentleman named Todd Crandall, who changed my life. And Todd told a story, and it mirrored mine of his childhood. It mirrored it. He was a goalie in hockey. His mother committed suicide. He went way overboard for me. But shout out Todd. I love you, brother. You're going to be on here. And so, I just broke down. I was bawling. And it was an image of my story. And then, he went through recovery and he started doing Ironmans, and he founded and here's a plug for him. He founded something called Racing for Recovery. And it was in Ohio. And I emailed him. I watched the episode and I'm bawling. And my girlfriend says, why do you cry for them, but you don't cry for me? That was an ongoing thing. I'm an emotional dude, man. I see victory, I see triumph. It makes me emotional, and because of my struggles, and the things that I've endured, and so I know that everybody has that in them, and I knew that I had it in me, but I had to make changes. So I emailed Todd Crandall, and by the way, at this point, I barely even know how to email. I'm still faxing offers, and I emailed Todd Crandall, and never expecting anything in return, right? Well, my phone rings. I wish I had the damn email so I could read it to you because, again, that self-reflection thing, I'm a drunk. I'm heading towards being alone forever. I'm messed up and I need help and I need to make some changes and I need to do it now. I wish I knew the year. I think this was 2012. And the phone rings. It's a 419 area code. And I'm thinking I'm going to sell a house. Hello, this is John Wentworth. Hey, it's Todd Crandall. And my jaw dropped. And I drove down the next day, and I never had a drink of alcohol for the next 8 years. And that sobriety, that time frame of sobriety changed my life, obviously. The other thing that, the next thing that happened was because of that, being sober, and I still had this love for hockey, so I dove all in. I think I played on 5 different men's leagues because I wanted to try out for the Flint Generals. But that's such a secondary story to, and I did. I did, and I made the team as a triple backup. I did play in a game though in the preseason, and we won, and that was awesome. And somehow I was again emotional, and in the locker room I spoke to 26 18-year-olds about not drinking. And then they all went to the bar after. But I still actually have 1 or 2 of them that reach out to me about that. And so, but the main thing that occurred after that was I met my wife. And the first night I met her, I just told her everything. I think that I wanted to scare her off. And she said, that's okay. And we just had a connection. And I think I drank about 16 cappuccinos that night. We were at Redwood Lodge. I'll never forget it. And I was up all night because I drank 16 cappuccinos and I just met the woman of my dreams. But I was still very skeptical because it was very different dating sober. The process was different and the outcome was certainly different. And we started to date, and it grew deeper and deeper. And she just changed my life because she gave me a love that I've never had in my life. The way that she cared for me, the way that she touched me, the way that she looked at me, I'd never had that before. And I didn't have it from my mother, right? And so I was very drawn to her, but I was also very afraid. But I will tell you this, I met her on Match.com. There was no photo of her. And, it was like God just placed her there. And it was the only date I ever went on. And the rest is, I guess you say, history. And through that journey, she gave me, I'll share a little bit more on the story of she gave me hope. She gave me strength. She also gave me confidence, and she gave me the ability to go out and fail. Like, now it was okay if I failed because I knew I had her. And so I just started going super hard at work. And I was at the place that I worked, and I still didn't have much money. And I had about 8 pending deals, and I said to the person that ran the show, I said, I need $5,000. I need to borrow $5,000. Obviously, I've got all these pendings, and so you're just going to take the money back out of the closing. And he said to me, well, I'll give you half because that will keep you working hard. And I said, I don't want half. I don't need half. I need $5,000. And he said, I'll give you half. That'll keep you working hard. And the next day I quit. And 2 days later, I met Jen down at Great Lakes Crossing, and of course I had told her the story. And she gives me a hug, and she reached out and held my hand, and she always does that. She always holds your hand. Inside of the hand was a piece of paper. I opened the paper. It's a check for $5,000. And I paid her back in about 5 days or 10 days, something like that, after those deals closed. And that was kind of the beginning of this incredible journey where I've been extremely blessed, extremely fortunate in an amazing career. And one of the things that drives me and motivates me so much right now is giving that opportunity. This is why I'm building this team. And this is why I'm focused on, on building our team and making it a brand. It's not just, I'm so like down the line in that. It's to give everyone else a platform to succeed, to have the opportunity to enjoy the things that I've enjoyed, and that's what motivates me. I want everyone in my circle to have all that I have and more. And so that's why I'm focused on building this team. And that's why I'm so motivated by, meeting Jake Worthington, who was our waiter at D'Eduardo's, a 26-year-old young man that was not, I don't know. He went to college. He quit college, and he's working at D'Eduardo's, which is, we're going to eat there this weekend. I love it. To bring him in and put him in a position where he's going to make $100,000 this year, and that's what motivates me, to be able to change someone's life like that. But at the same time, I only want to bring in those first class people. And Jake represents that, right? And lots of other people on our team as well. And I'm very reluctant to use the word proud. I talk about this a lot actually with people in I just asked JD from the Freedom Center about this the other day. I said, how do you feel about proud? Because there's times I want to say I'm proud of something, but I feel like, gosh, I don't want that ego trip. And he described it very good. He said, God wants you to be proud. He doesn't want you to be prideful. And so I'm very proud of the platform that we have here, because it truly sets people. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and all you have to do is follow that plan, and you're going to be extremely successful. And I just love that. And I've got such an amazing support here. Stacy was the first person that I hired as an assistant, and I was paying her $200 of cash a week. And I remember she said to me one day, we were at our office, and she said, "Do you think I'll have a job next year?" And I said, "Heck yes, you're going to have a job." I had no clue, but I knew she would have a job. I just didn't know what it would look like. And now here she is, 9 years later, still with us. And Brooke, just an amazing person who's been with us, 7 years. Tony Strozier, my man, Todd Warda, Andy Belson, just this huge support staff that's been with me a long time, that supports me way beyond. I don't even know why, but they support me so much. It's just crazy. And and Andy Belson and just everybody here, I can't even name them all. I would need the list, but I love you all. And my goal is your goal. And so, that's how I ended up here. That's my faith journey. So moving a little forward into that, and I had an opportunity to go to the men's retreat at St. John's. And I had been asked, and I thought, no, I don't want to do that. I'd never been to church. And then another person asked me, and then and there were some influencers in there. And I said, well, this will be good for business. This will be good for business. And boy, I had no clue. I thought I was doing so good, and I had no clue what I was missing. I went to this retreat. I found so much. I cried the entire time. And, I found forgiveness for my mom. I found forgiveness for my dad. I found forgiveness for, the pain that I'd endured and that I held on to for so long. So it released a lot of anger. I found forgiveness, which I didn't realize, that forgiveness isn't about one. It's really about two, because it affects you and the person you offer the forgiveness to. And so I learned about that, and I met the Holy Spirit twice on this retreat, and I'm not even going to try to talk about that. all I can tell you is that I was affected tremendously in an absolute positive way, and that changed so much of my life. It didn't make me perfect. It taught me to always reflect every day, every night, to be grateful, to be humble. And I already had those qualities, but now it's just heightened them to the max, and people always, say, well, why do you hug everyone so much? Well, I don't know, maybe I need it and maybe they need it. I think that everybody has a story. Everybody has pains. Everybody has hurts. And I think if you live with that in your mind and you live with compassion, you can get so much closer to people and you can help people on such a higher level. And I do that so without even thinking about it. That's just who I am and what I do. And, so God has changed my life tremendously. And then talk about the influencers, when I now am inviting people to this retreat and having such a huge effect and watching their lives, either transform or grow deeper in their faith. And it's tough to stay on fire all the time. It's tough. It really is. And it takes that always self-reflection. But the beauty of this forgiveness thing is what happened with my dad. My dad, he lived angry. He lived he drank a lot because of the pain, I'm sure, of my mom's suicide. And when he became very ill and he ended up living with us, he was on a ventilator for 2 weeks. So when he lived with us, he could barely move. And as he started to get better, and if you've seen our vlog at all, I share this a little bit. As he started to get better, even death wasn't enough because he went back to drinking. One time we caught him drinking, and I said, "Dad, you can't do this. And you're going to the men's retreat this weekend at St. John's." And he said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, he goes, "I'm not going." I go, "Yeah, oh yeah, you're all set. Don't worry, everything's all lined up. I've got your bags, everything's good. You're good to go." And I dropped him off. And he came out of that retreat a changed man. And so you're talking about somebody that goes from, spending all of his time at the VFW drinking and very little time with his family and sad, hurting, angry, to somebody that now is a lunch liaison at the school, somebody who now is on the pastoral committee at the church, someone who is now at Christian's every hockey game, someone who now is with us at Christmas that wasn't before. And I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him. I have a dad now, and it's just a testimonial to God. And when you're able to let your guard down and say, okay, I don't know it all, and I don't need to control everything, and you let God in and you take on and embrace that forgiveness, it changes your life. And I've seen it over and over and over. It is a life changer. So enough about that story. Ultimately, I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to ask you to, stay involved, stay engaged. We're going to bring on a lot of first-class people to the Thoroughbred podcast, and it's about elite people. It's about elite business. It's about leadership. It's going to be a realm of things, and you know me, all positive. We're not going to sit in here and talk about the news. We're not going to sit in here and talk about anything but positive stuff, and we're going to motivate. We're going to try to move you forward, and I'm just super excited for where this is going to go because, I've got a story to tell that's way deeper than the little bit you heard today. I know that God has left me here and brought me to this place to embrace the platform that I have that I've shied away from a lot. And so, one of my coaches said to me, he said, I said, I don't want to go too, well, I guess I may as well. I said, I've got a story to tell and I'm going to help children. And some people heard me speak when I don't know, the Holy Spirit led me up on stage at the Whaley's event. And so, I've got a story to tell to help children, to help children of abuse. And I've always shied away from it because I thought, well, I don't want my grandma to know. And then she passed, bless her soul. And then my next excuse was, well, I don't want the brothers and sisters in the family to know. And one of my coaches, John Sheplak, shout out to John, said, he's a real estate coach, but pretty much just coaches me on life. He said to me, he goes, you're worried about 2 or 3 when you can affect 2 or 3,000 or maybe 2 or 300,000. And that ran me over. And that was another reminder that I need to get out of my own way and start to share this story. And Gary V, shout out to Gary V, who, I don't know, he'll probably never hear this, but I sat with him at dinner in Miami, and I shared a little bit. I'm an open book, and I shared a little bit, and he said, what the F are you waiting for? And again, that just hit me. And so I'm done waiting. Here I am, raw. And that's the other thing about this show. I mean, this is not scripted. Sure, we'll have a topic, but we're just going to roll with it, and we're going to have fun with it, but it's going to be real and raw, and it's going to be dynamite. Subscribe. I love you all. Thoroughbred Podcast. I love you all. Please subscribe. Thoroughbred Podcast. Peace and hair grease. God bless.